Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget-friendly, and delicious. So if you'd like to get some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. For dinner this night, we had my little brother and sister still with us, so we decided to order pizza from Papa John's. We got the Hawaiian barbecue chicken pizza with no onions. That's my favorite. Then for my brother and sister, my brother wanted a pepperoni pizza, so we did half pepperoni for him, and then my sister wanted half bacon and pineapple. We got some of their cinnamon pull-aparts, and then my husband really wasn't in the mood for pizza necessarily, but he got a papadilla. This is their Italian. For my husband, I get the Italian papadilla, but instead of the sausage, I think it's pepperoni I substitute for that. Here's a picture of my plate. I had a piece of the Hawaiian barbecue chicken and a piece of the pepperoni pizza. And then a little bit later, I had a couple of the cinnamon pull-aparts. And I know this might sound random, but I'm just curious if anyone else has noticed this. So this night when we ordered the Papa John's pizza and we got it, it looked like their thin crust pizza, which we always order their regular original style crust, but I have ordered their thin crust for other people, and it looked just like their thin crust pizza. And so we called and complained about it. They sent us new pizza, but it was also thin crust, and we were like, what the heck? So we called back to the store and asked to talk to the manager, and the manager said that Papa John's just recently changed their original style crust and that they've made it a lot thinner. And I've been eating Papa John's pizza since I was in middle school at least, and it's always been the same way, you know, a thicker style crust. So I'm not sure why they decided to change it, but I'm just curious if anyone else has ordered from Papa John's lately and noticed that, or if it's just our store. I'm just curious. But anyway, this was our dinner this night. It was really fun to hang out with my little brother and sister, and that was our dinner. For dinner the next night, we just had hot dogs. If you saw my last grocery haul, you'll notice that the meal plan that I showed you in that video doesn't line up exactly to this What's for Dinner video, and that is totally okay. Life happens, and this past week was super busy for us, like I'm sure it was for many of you. We were busy getting ready for Christmas, making treats, delivering them, wrapping presents, doing all the things, and so we went off meal plan, and that's okay. If it happens to you, don't feel bad, don't feel guilt or shame. It happens. Just move on. As long as your family gets fed, that's all that matters. So this particular night, we just cooked up some hot dogs. I know all of you probably know how to make hot dogs, but I just wanted to share how we like to make them, just in case you're new to cooking, or, you know, maybe I make them a little bit differently than what you do. Basically, I just bring a pot of water to boil. Once it's at a boil, I add in how many ever hot dogs I want to cook. I cover it with a lid, turn the stove off, and allow it to sit for about 10 to 12 minutes, and they get warm all the way through and taste kind of steamed like a ballpark hot dog does. And another tip, if you want that like steamed ballpark taste for your bun, you can take a damp paper towel. You don't want to get it soaking wet, but just get it damp, wrap it around your hot dog bun, place it into the microwave for maybe 8 to 15 seconds, just depends on your microwave, and it will steam it. Tastes just like the stadium. So to go along with this, we had some loaded baked potato salad that I had picked up like the day before from Publix's Deli. We had it for lunch. We just had some left over, so that's what we had with our hot dog, and that was our dinner this night. I had a subscriber request that I share some flatbread pizzas. So I had this Thai chicken flatbread pizza pinned, and I've been wanting to try it. So I decided this was the perfect time. I will include a link to the recipe that I used in the description box below. I'm going to start out by making the sauce for the pizza. I have this sauce pot over about medium heat. I'm going to add in the chicken broth, peanut butter, sriracha, honey, soy sauce, ground ginger, minced garlic, and the recipe calls for fresh lime juice. I didn't have any. I just had some of this refrigerated in a bottle, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to whisk this together and then heat it and stir occasionally until the sauce becomes thick. While I'm doing that, I do want to make just a couple quick notes. First, I am having the amount of sauce for the original recipe. Second, So I tasted this sauce and I felt like it was a little heavy on the soy sauce. It was a little salty. So I added a little bit more honey, and I think that was a mistake. The reason that I say that is in the finished product, my husband and I liked this pizza, but we felt like the flavor was just a little bit flat. And I think that might be because I added the little bit of honey. So once you added the sauce, and then of course you add your chicken and your cheese and all that, it was just kind of lacking a little bit in flavor. So I think that if I would have left the amount of soy sauce, or the amount of honey rather, alone and added a little bit more sriracha, I think that would have been a little bit better. It would have tasted a little more flavorful than what it was. But like I said, the pizza was fine. We liked it. We just felt like it was just a little bit flat. Here is that finished sauce. As you can see, it got nice and thick. I'm going to set that to the side so I can assemble the pizza. I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees. I'm going to take a cookie sheet. I'm adding one of these Naan flatbreads to the cookie sheet. I'm going to pop this into the oven and pre-bake this for about 4 to 6 minutes. Now I'm ready to assemble my flatbread. I'm going to add that peanut sauce, and as you can see, as it set for a couple minutes, it got even a little more thick. I'm just spreading that out on my naan bread. And then for the chicken, you could use leftover chicken. You could cook up some fresh chicken. I have this half a rotisserie chicken that I got from the deli at Publix. I'm just going to pull off some of the chicken and add that to the pizza. Then I'm going to add some shredded mozzarella cheese. Then I'm going to add some shredded carrots and chopped green onions, and this is going to go back into the oven and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. And you can broil this for the last minute or two if you would prefer. Just make sure you watch it when it's on broil. All right, here's the finished pizza. I sprinkled it with some chopped up cilantro, and then that was it. Here is the finished plate. So we have some of the pizza, and then we have some carrot sticks and cucumbers. I served the carrot sticks and cucumbers with some ranch dressing. And like I said, this was good. We just felt like it was just a little bit flat, and I honestly think that that was my fault. I should have left the sauce alone, but I recommend you all give this a try. I'll definitely make it again, and when I make it next time, I will leave the amount of honey and soy sauce as is. All right, that was our dinner this night. The next day was our family Christmas party. I mentioned this in my grocery haul, but just in case you missed it, the holidays for us this year have looked a little bit different than they have in the past. Now, they were different last year, of course, but I think that's true for everyone because of everything that was going on. But this year, my grandfather and my uncle weren't able to come down. So typically we host Thanksgiving at our house, and my grandfather, he is about to be 89. He comes down with my uncle from Kentucky, and they have Thanksgiving with us, and then they typically come down Christmas morning, and we have Christmas morning breakfast at my mom and dad's or here at our house, and we exchange presents and everything, and then they usually go back home. But my grandfather's health is not doing well this year, and he was just not able to travel down here for that. So we ended up renting a house up near where he lives in Kentucky for Thanksgiving, and for Christmas we went up and ate with him, and my uncle and my siblings were there, my mom and dad and my husband and I. Now, in the little community where my grandfather lives, it's not really an assisted living center. It's just like an apartment complex where a lot of retired people also live. They have a little community room there, and so they let us borrow it, so it was super nice. So we just brought lunch, had lunch, opened some presents. It was really nice. Here is a picture of our little spread that we had. We stopped and got KFC fried chicken and some chicken tenders. That might sound a little unusual, but my grandfather has never been a big meat eater, which I know might sound a little bit odd. I've mentioned several times that he's a dairy farmer, or he was a dairy farmer for many years, so you might think he's a steak and potatoes guy. Not my grandpa. He's more of a pinto beans and cornbread kind of guy. Meat, he can kind of take it or leave it, and if he's going to eat meat, he normally wants fried chicken or fried catfish, so that's what we got him, and he was completely thrilled with it. We also grabbed some coleslaw at KFC while we were there. My uncle got some dressing from a local like fruit market there, which might sound a little bit odd to get dressing from a fruit market, but they make different side dishes for the holidays. So we cooked that. My mom made some brown gravy and some mashed potatoes. We were a little bit limited. The little community room that they had a small little stove. So my mom got a couple bags of the Ore-Ida steam and mash potatoes. I mentioned those before on my channel. So she just mashed those up, and then she made a couple boxes of Velveeta shells and cheese. We had some Hawaiian rolls, and then I brought some of these little Loft sugar cookies. And here's a picture of my plate. Simple but delicious. This was so yummy. On our way up to Kentucky to visit and have Christmas with my grandpa, we stopped at an Amish store. It's called Habbeggers. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's in Scottsville, Kentucky. We always try to stop there either on our way up to Kentucky or back. And we love their homemade sourdough bread and their German beef bologna. So good. And I know bologna, not healthy in any way, but you know what? Sometimes it just hits the spot. So on this particular night, I was needing something super quick and easy, and we just pulled out that sourdough bread and the bologna and made some sandwiches. I also got my husband some of their horseradish cheddar cheese. So here's a picture of my plate. For my bologna sandwiches, I'm really weird about sandwiches and chips. I don't know if anybody else is like this or if I'm just a freak of nature, but when I eat sandwiches, I only like certain condiments and certain things on certain sandwiches. So like if I'm going to eat a bologna sandwich, I want mustard and tomato. That's it. Nothing else. If I'm eating a ham sandwich, I want ham and the tiniest little thin layer of mayonnaise. That's it. My husband, on the other hand, you can add whatever combination of condiments and toppings to sandwiches, and he wants basically everything. Like when we go to Subway, he pretty much gets every topping except for raw onions, and that's only because raw onions don't really agree with him. So we are complete opposites in that. And not only am I weird about what I want on my sandwich, but I'm also weird about the combinations of what chips I like to eat with what sandwiches. I know, I'm so weird. But with bologna sandwiches, I like Doritos. That's what I like. So again, here's a picture of my plate. I've got my bologna sandwich with my Doritos, and then we also picked up some skis while we were in Kentucky. If you're not familiar with these are local to kind of where we're from. It's a citrus drink. It's pretty much like Mountain Dew, but instead of like lemon and lime, it's got some orange in it. It's really good, but you take a swig of this and you are, you know, jacked. I mean, there's a lot of sugar and caffeine in this. But anyway, super simple dinner. That was yummy. Dinner the next night was also off meal plan, and again, that's okay. I decided to make some burgers. I had these frozen hamburger patties in my freezer from Kroger. Wanted to use those up, and we had some of these Martin's potato rolls in the pantry that I wanted to use. So for the burgers, I cooked these on the George Foreman grill. I just seasoned them with some seasoned salt and pepper, cooked them until they were done to our liking, and then I made a loaded baked potato salad to go along with it. I've shared this recipe before on my channel. I have it linked in the description box below. It's super easy and delicious. All you do is take some potatoes. You can use russet potatoes, red potatoes. On this particular day, I had a bag of these like baby golden potatoes. Normally I boil the potatoes or bake them, but this time I decided to steam them in the bag in the microwave and try that. Worked perfectly, was so much easier. Didn't have to fool around with preheating the oven or boiling the potatoes or anything like that. So I'll definitely do that again. So once I've cooked the potatoes and kind of set them aside to cool just a little bit, you mix mayonnaise, sour cream. I like to add in a little bit of ranch dressing, but you don't have to do that. Some salt and pepper, shredded cheddar cheese, some chopped green onions, and bacon. Toss it around. You can eat it warm or pop it in the refrigerator and chill it. It is delicious, so good. That was our dinner this night, the burgers and the loaded baked potato salad. For the last dinner in this week's video, I'm sharing with you our Christmas Eve dinner. When my husband and I first got married, we started a little tradition for us of having a steak and lobster tail dinner. Now, sometimes we have this on Christmas Eve, sometimes Christmas Day. It has just depended on what our Christmas plans are for that year. So I've mentioned before that typically on Christmas Eve, we do a get together where we have all kinds of appetizers, but sometimes in the past we've had to do that on a different night other than Christmas Eve, just depending on people's work schedules and things that we've had going on. But it's always, you know, sometime around Christmas. So depending on when we've had that depends on kind of when we have our steak and lobster tail dinner. But like I said, it's usually either on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And to keep this budget friendly, I always get the steak and lobster tails in advance. I just watch for them to go on sale and then pop them in the freezer, and then that way I've got them for our dinner. So for our steak and lobster tails, I am going to make some onions and mushrooms. Normally I saute these in a pan on top of the stove, but I saw on Pinterest where someone did these in the oven, so I wanted to try it in the oven this year. To keep things easy, so I don't have a ton of dishes, I'm using this aluminum foil pan. I'm going to add in some sliced onions and mushrooms. I'm going to add in some olive oil, salt and pepper, and some Worcestershire sauce and toss this together. I just use my hands, clean hands of course. And then I put these into the oven. I cook them along with the other side dish that I'm getting ready to show you how I made, which was at 350 degrees. These cook for about 45 minutes. I stirred them halfway through. To be honest, they were still a little toothsome for us. I would have cooked them for another 15 minutes or so, but we were just ready to eat dinner and they were still fine as is. For the side dish, I'm making a Hashbrown Casserole. I got this recipe probably 15 years ago, maybe 20, from a lady that I used to work with. This is so good. It's super delicious. And I've seen this recipe a lot on Pinterest since then. And it's called, I think, like the Copycat Cracker Barrel Hashbrown Casserole. If you've never tried it before, you got to try it. It's delicious. So I do things just a little bit differently. So the recipe, which I'll have it typed out in the description box below, it calls for butter and diced onions. I like to cook my onions though to get them tender. So on this particular day, I cooked them in the microwave. I added the butter to this bowl, added in the onions. I popped it in the microwave and cooked it for about 2 to 3 minutes until the onions were tender. You can also do this on top of the stove. I was just going for quick and easy this night. Just take your butter, put it in a skillet, add the onions, cook them until they're soft. If you don't want to do that step, you don't have to. You can just add the melted butter and the onions, the raw onions, into your casserole. Either way, it'll be delicious. To the melted butter and diced onions, I'm going to add my hash browns. I like to use this bag of Simply potatoes. The recipe calls for a full pound of potatoes, and you can use that, but I like to use this slightly smaller bag. The hash brown casserole just comes out extra creamy that way. So to that, we're going to add our cream of chicken soup, the sour cream. I've also done this using Greek yogurt. It turns out delicious. Either way works. Then I'm going to season this to taste with some salt and pepper. I'm going to add in my shredded cheddar cheese. I'm stirring that until it's combined really well. Now this is totally customizable. Feel free to make it your own. You can do like a crack version where you add some dry ranch dressing mix, bacon pieces, chopped green onions. You can add cubed up leftover ham to this. You can add just bacon pieces. You can use pepper jack cheese is really good. So feel free to make it your own. I have a casserole dish that I've sprayed with some cooking spray. I'm going to spread out my casserole mixture. And then I like to top this with some extra shredded cheddar cheese before I place this into the oven. You can also use crushed up cornflakes. I've seen that and it's good as well. It gives it like a crunchy layer. This is going to go into the oven that's preheated at 350 degrees, and this will bake for 45 minutes to an hour. Now for the steaks, this is how I like to make them. You may have your own way that you like, and hey, it's your kitchen, you do you. I just wanted to share with you how I like to make it, just in case maybe I make it a little differently and there's something that you want to try. So with my steaks, we prefer New York strips, but use your favorite ribeye, sirloin, whatever you like. I like to set them out for about an hour and allow them to come to room temperature, then take some paper towels and pat them until they're really dry. For the seasoning for the steaks, I simply like to use kosher salt and pepper. With steaks, you do want to be generous with the salt and pepper though. An under-seasoned steak, it to me is a travesty. The salt really brings out that flavor. It needs it. So today I have some of this Alderwood smoked sea salt that I got. You don't have to use this, of course. I'm just using it because I have it on hand. So I'm adding a little bit of that, but I don't want it to be super overpowering. So I'm also going to use my kosher salt and pepper. I season the first side while my pan is warming up. Now I prefer to cook this on my cast iron skillet. So here I've got it over about medium-high heat. Once it's hot, I'm going to add in just a little bit of olive oil and a small pat of butter. I'm going to add my steaks, and as soon as I put them on that side, I will season the second side. And I like to cook these. Now, it just depends on how you like your steak cooked and how thick or how big your steak is. For these, I cook them for about 4 or 5 minutes on each side. Once that first side is cooked, I'm going to flip it over and allow it to cook on the other side, and then I will remove these to a plate. I like to add just a pat of butter so that the butter melts while the steak rests, and you want to let your steaks rest for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you slice into them. For the lobster tails, I got this recipe years ago from All Recipes. I'll have it linked down below. I don't follow it exactly anymore. I just kind of eyeball it, but I do go by that recipe. In this small bowl, I have some butter that I've melted. I'm going to add some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and paprika, and give that a stir. I've got my oven preheating to broil. Now for the lobster tails, these were frozen. I thawed them completely. Then I took a pair of kitchen scissors and cut down the back of the shell. You want to be really careful when you do this. The shells can be sharp. I have cut myself on them before. And then I take my hands and just pop the shell just a little bit to expose some of that meat and to loosen the meat up just a little. I'm going to drizzle some of that seasoned butter that we just made over the lobster tails, and then I'm going to place these in the oven on broil, and I broiled these for about 6 minutes. You just want to broil them until the meat turns opaque. You do not want to overcook lobster. If you overcook it, it's rubbery and not tasty at all. Here's the finished hash brown casserole out of the oven. This was so good. And then here are those onions and mushrooms. Like I said, these were good, but they were still a little too-some. I would have liked to cook them for another 15 minutes or so. Here are the rested steaks, and that is the melted butter that you see on top of it. And here are the plates. So we've got some of the steak, the onions and mushrooms, the hash brown casserole, one of the lobster tails, and then I served just a little wedge of lemon so that we could squeeze it over our lobster tail. And that's it for this week's video. If you and your family celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And if you celebrate Kwanzaa, I hope you had a wonderful Kwanzaa as well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.